everybody, and welcome back to another fantasy football video. So the games are coming thick and fast over the Christmas break, as is usual, so we got another video up. How well did we do? Well, actually, I'm pretty happy with how we did. 67 points against an average of 45, highest being 122, but fair play to that person. And considering that our entire front line basically did nothing, and another one of our main players didn't play, I'm genuinely pretty chuffed. So clearly, as you can see, the outstanding player was Salah, who was my captain, so he got double points. He picked up 2 goals, I believe, in that game, which is really good when he's your captain. Like that's exactly what you want from a player. The back lineup, as we'll see, did pretty well as well. Everyone but Gomez getting the clean sheet bonus, De Gea as well getting the clean sheet bonus. But then up front, I mean, despite some big wins, or some wins where you would, I mean, Morata being the case there. I think Chelsea won 5-0, right? Yeah. Morata didn't get an assist or a goal. It's like, I'm sure he did a lot during the game, but Jesus Christ, you could have like at least nudged something over the line at some point. Firmino as well, although the Liverpool game was a different, it wasn't exactly a thrashing. And well, Lukaku at Man United, yeah. Anyway, so backline, as you can see, did well. Duffy coming in there, I believe, no, it wasn't this week, sorry, there was another week where we had a player come in. I was hoping Sterling wasn't going to play at all, but he did come on, and we'll talk about why he came on and stuff like that, because the Man City game is obviously the big game. We would have got a couple of extra points, but you know, overall I can't really complain too much of that week. We've had some good weeks recently. Disappointing with those, 3 up front, but that's the way it goes, isn't it? It's a tough one. You can put all the logic you want in. At the end of the day, if they can't kick the ball over the line, they're not going to get your points. So, how well did we do, or how well did the teams do, and what were the results? Well, clearly the big result that I'm sure everybody's probably watching this for is this one, but we'll get to that. Don't worry, that'll be the main talking point of this video, I would imagine. So Bournemouth being Everton have been on a good run recently. I think they've been undefeated since Sam Allardyce came in. 2 wins, 2 draws, and losing to Bournemouth is, I guess, it's a bit of a shock. But Bournemouth have had some decent results recently. They're coming back off a really bad spell. I think they should be okay this season, but we'll see. But that's a really good win for them. I'm sure they'll be delighted with that. It's good to see that Eddie Howe is kind of sticking to his guns with the way he plays, and with the players that he has, they have never really been a big spending side in the Premier League. I think the biggest buy was Jordan Ibe, who has not really done very well for them, to be fair. He hasn't really settled in that well. And they're still using some players who've been at the club since they weren't even in the Premier League, I believe. So completely fair play to Bournemouth. They are a classic case of what would be the term? Overachieving. That's the term. They are overachievers, big time. I mean, people can look at Palace and say, oh, Palace doing well because they're still in the Premier League, blah blah. But at the end of the day, we spent 30 million on a striker, 25 million on a defender, 15 million on a midfielder in Dubai, and the numbers which Bournemouth have not been able to kind of match. So I think, if I was looking at one of the best managers in the Premier League over the last few seasons, Eddie Howe would be there. However, I question how much longer until that catches up with him. I was thinking about this today, mostly because of Roy Hodgson, but the fact that we tend to judge football managers incredibly harshly. We judge them by their last few results almost, how well they did at a certain football club. And as with anything in life, and I kind of know this as somebody who's worked a lot of different jobs at different companies, sometimes you can go into a job and you just fit in and it just works for you, and sometimes you can go into a job that it doesn't work out. Either you thought you were going to be good and they thought you were going to be good, but you just weren't the person they were looking for, or the circumstances around what you were doing wasn't great. One job that kind of reminds me of in my life is when I went to work at a golf club, and I thought it'd be really good, and they obviously thought I'd be really good, but what they wanted me to do in the way I worked and stuff like that, it just wasn't working out, and after about 9 months I left. But it doesn't tarnish any other achievements that you have, and I'm certainly guilty of this as well, of judging managers by their last season. And Roy Hodgson, as we'll get to, is clearly a good manager. He's had a phenomenal career. In the same way, Eddie Howe is clearly a good manager, and even if Bournemouth get relegated, he will still be a good manager, or one of the brightest young managers there is. And it shouldn't just be a case of, Eddie Howe's lost it, because what he's done is, same with Sean Dyche, even if Burnley fade away and end up, mid-bottom table this season, you can't take away from the fact that he has done a phenomenal job there. Same way that, even though things ended badly with Claudio Ranieri at Leicester, no one can take away how good he was in that season. People can talk about managers getting lucky and doing this and doing that, but at the end of the day, you still have to go out there and you still have to do your job properly. If you just literally did nothing, then you wouldn't win the league, would you? And as I said, right situation, right time, brings out the best in people. So I think Eddie Howe's doing a really good job. But Chelsea smashing Stoke in real trouble. They rested a load of players for this match because they wanted to focus on the Newcastle game. I guess spoilers for the next video, they lost to Newcastle. We've only played, where I'm recording this is only we haven't played all the fixtures from next week's fixtures, so I'm not going to do a video until we have done them all. But Stoke Newcastle played and Stoke lost, so they got battered by Chelsea because they rested a load of players. I'm not saying that's the right or wrong thing to do, but you live by the sword, you die by the sword. I would be surprised if Mark Hughes is still manager of Stoke by the end of the week, in all honesty. I think they're going to I think they'll get rid of him now, because Stoke are plummeting. We can see them here. They had a win there against West Brom, which I guess is a good win, and that was the one where people were like, he's got to win that or else. But now drawn with Huddersfield, lost, and then lost to Newcastle. Play Man United next. Now, if you know Man United are not in the greatest of form right now, you would bet against them beating Stoke. They're in free fall at the minute, and again, Mark Hughes has over the years proven that he is a good manager. But you wrong place, wrong time, I guess. And he did a really good job, I think, of coming into Stoke after Tony Pulis, who was obviously a kind of a legend there, really, for what he did, and he changed the style, and he brought in a lot of flair players. Players like Shaqiri, Arnautovic, things like that, and Bojan, and it worked for a while, but for whatever reason, it just didn't continue to work. And whereas Stoke were beginning to look like quite a comfortable, mid-table Premier League team, they haven't. They just haven't gone on, and they've just dropped down from that. It's interesting to see Arnautovic go to West Ham and start playing really well. I guess, again, wrong place, wrong time, or right place, right time is how it goes. Huddersfield Burnley 0-0. I got nothing to say on that one. Liverpool coming from behind. Leicester took the lead early on through Vardy, and then Salah scoring the 2, which is where I saw maybe got slightly injured. I don't think he played in Liverpool's game today. No, he didn't. They rested him and Coutinho. It's tough to say about Liverpool. got him in their squad. So they're grinding out some wins. Not exactly free-flowing football, but hey, 4 wins in 5 games and only a draw at Arsenal, away to Arsenal, which is no disgrace. Puts them with the best form of everybody. The other 2 teams in the Premier League, Chelsea and Man City. So they're doing a decent job now, Liverpool, if they can continue this momentum, stay injury-free. They're obviously, I don't think, going to challenge for the title, but I think they're going to cement that Champions League place and push on from there. They've got Virgil van Dijk joining them, or has joined them today actually, for 75 million. Spoke about that last time. Bottom line is, he's a good defender. They need a good defender. They've had to pay through the nose for him, but if you've got the money and you need that player, then that's what you pay. And they've got Keita coming at the end of the season, who's one of the best players in Germany. So the future is really bright for Liverpool, I think. They need a goalkeeper though. I've said that so many times. If they get a goalkeeper, who knows? They could be the number 1 challenger to City, depending on what Chelsea and Man United do, obviously. Newcastle, Brighton, again, don't have a lot to say there. I guess a draw probably suits both of them in a way. Newcastle were in a little bit free fall, but they've not had terrible results, losing 1-0 to Man City, although, as I'll discuss with the Man City game today, that was kind of flattering, I think, for Newcastle in some ways. Swansea beat Watford, came from behind, I believe, as well. Shocking. And it was like last minute or something like that, I think. Can Swansea pull it round? They've got Spurs next. That's a tough game. It seems like it's going to be interesting. I kind of think I said that Carvajal, he's done all right at Sheffield Wednesday. When he was there, they got into playoffs twice, I think, which is good. But a relegation dogfight in the Premier League is a whole nother story now. I mean, he got a win. That could be the win that turns Swansea around, because I'm pretty sure it's been a long time since they won. So that should be really interesting, actually, to see how that goes. Watford really tailing off. 7 points above the relegation zone. I don't think they're in trouble, but their early form has been completely undone, basically. They're not going to challenge, I don't think, for a European place. I think the best they can hope for is mid-table now, I would think. Man United Southampton, I managed to watch a fair bit of this, and I can say, Man United, I just don't know what's going on with them right now. Now, Lukaku went off injured early on, as you can see from the fact that he only got 1 point. So I understand that is a problem for him. How long was he on for? 13 minutes yet. So obviously that kind of screws you over. But it's not like Man United don't have good players in attack, because they brought in Marcus Rashford, who, to be fair, would probably get into most Premier League sides, apart from maybe the top 6. So he's a good, young player to bring in. They didn't take Zlatan with them. He's going to be out for about a month or so, they say. I think he came back too soon. And but I mean, they have players like Martial who can play up front as well. But the thing that just fascinated me was that they didn't seem to change their game plan in any way. They have quite a short squad at Man United. Now, to be fair, like my Man United sporting friend pointed out to me that Marcus Rashford is 6 foot tall. I was like, okay, well, that's fair enough. But like, if you look at a lot of their players like Mkhitaryan, Mata, Jesse Lingard, even Marcus Rashford, they're not strong head, like people who are going to head, or they're not aerial threats, shall we say. Pogba was the one player who would be. Fellaini didn't play, I think he's injured. But they just kept smashing these crosses in, and honestly, they just didn't seem to trouble Southampton in any way. It was really shocking. It almost looked like back under like Van Hull, where it was just like I had a long conversation with a friend of mine about Mourinho and the fact that he, I look at Pep's team, say, or Antonio Conte's team, or Jurgen Klopp's team, and I see an identity in their team, a specific way they want to play, and they go out and play that way, and they recruit players to suit that need. Whether they overspend or how much they spend on them, regardless, they recruit players in those positions that they need, and they play that way. Man United, I feel, don't have an identity right now. I couldn't tell you how they play, and they recruit players. I don't know what the recruitment strategy is. Mkhitaryan was like, oh great, we brought in Mkhitaryan. Then it kind of turns out that Jose Mourinho doesn't like him, and then they buy like Paul Pogba for like 100 million. What then, a world record? Well, it just doesn't. Like Paul Pogba, everybody knew Paul Pogba works best in a midfield three. That's how it was at Juventus. He's got to have a license to be able to roam. But they don't play that way. Like, he doesn't have a partner. Somebody's going to sit while he, shoots up, and I don't know. It just feels like at the minute it's a mess. It's a shambles. They picked up Lukaku, who, despite him being a bit on-off this season, I think it's a good signing for them. They needed a striker. They went out and they got one. That's a fair signing. But a lot of their other ones, apart from say Mata, it was a decent signing. But it's just I just don't get their team right now. They just don't seem to have any creativity, despite having incredibly creative players. They're saying they want to buy Ozil. Well, I mean, what? Like, how's that going to help you? You've got Mata, Mkhitaryan, Lingard. They're all creative players. It just seems to be I think it's a manager problem, not a player problem. When you look at that team, on paper they should beat Southampton easily, like really easily, and they barely troubled them. So I don't know where they go. I don't know. Mourinho's such a stubborn guy that he's not going to change, and the fact, I think I said last time, the fact that it's Pep who is winning games, winning and winning and winning, is hurting him badly. And the difference you see nowadays with the Mourinho compared to the Chelsea days or the Inter days or the Porto days, where he would defend his players to the death. He doesn't seem to do that now. He tends to throw them under the bus a little bit. And I don't know. I said to my Man United boyfriend, I was like, do you see him as manager next season? He was like, yeah, but I don't know where they go after that. Like, at the end of the day, they could still win the Champions League. They could still, I mean, Mourinho's good at doing that. They could still win the FA Cup. They could still come second in the league and win a cup. It's not a bad season, but if they come second and win the Champions League, that's a successful season. Like, you can't really argue with that. But if they don't win anything, and even if they come second, and they would be miles off Man City, I would imagine, you just wonder where they're going. I do wonder. They look very disjointed, and don't believe all this stuff about Mourinho moaning about other teams being able to spend money. It's nonsense. It's him putting up a smokescreen. He's always done it. He doesn't believe that he's not spent enough money or whatever. He's just it's just a tactic he uses to deflect attention to other things. He wants the attention and the pressure to be deflected to Man City rather than on him, and that's the way he does it. Yes, Man City do spend a lot of money, have spent a lot of money, but if they've got the money to spend it, what are you going to do? And West Brom Arsenal 1-1. Apparently Arsenal were robbed. It was never a penalty. I'm not going to feel any sympathy for Arsenal, but it does put them quite far behind now. Albeit if they win their game in hand, it's against Chelsea. So it seems unlikely with Arsenal's record against like top 6 teams. That would put them up, closer. But Spurs are knocking on the door. Arsenal could, realistically be 6th at the end of this next week, points off the Champions League places, and that's just not good enough, really. With the realistic possibility that they're going to lose Sanchez and Ozil. If not in January, then definitely at the end of the season. And I wonder where they're going. They're talking about Draxler and like, players like this, but like they're massive holes to fill. Ozil, not so much in my opinion. I think he's very overrated. I don't think he's consistent enough to be considered a world-class player, but Sanchez definitely is, without doubt. So Crystal Palace Man City, that's the big game. I watched this game. It was a roller coaster, shall we say. So I expected Crystal Palace to get battered, and I don't usually like to watch the football team I support getting battered, but I did watch it because, if anything, Man City are usually quite a delight to watch. And you know, I figured, well, I had 3 of their players, so if they do, you know, start scoring goals, then on the plus side, I'll get a lot of points. It was a weird game though, because that's not what happened. They didn't thrash Crystal Palace, and it was just 0-0. Palace gave as good as they got, and there were definite weaknesses in Man City. You could see that they were frustrated. City lost Jesus early on, but Palace lost Scott Dan early on, their central defender. We had to bring on Martin Kelly, who's a right back by trade normally. He went to centre back, had a magnificent game by the way. They took off Jesus and brought on Aguero. It was not exactly a, you know, not a bad change, is it? And later on in the game they lost De Bruyne, which was a horrific tackle, I will say, by Jason Punchin. I don't know how bad it is. I haven't actually seen how bad he got injured, De Bruyne, but it looked pretty bad. You know, Palace lost Punchin as well, and yeah, it's that time of year where players pick up injuries. Unfortunately, it's stupid the amount of games players have to play. But anyway, so yeah, this game was had everything. It was the difference, I think, between what Palace did. The reason why, from what I could see, the reason why it worked, the reason why we managed to get that draw was because Roy Hodgson plays 4-4-2. Okay, there's barely any managers play 4-4-2, but he plays 4-4-2 and he plays it effectively. The teams are drilled into 2 banks of 4. Then we had Benteke and Zaha up front. What it allowed us to do was, when we wanted to counter, we could hit a long ball up to Benteke, who could knock it down to Zaha, or we could play a ball like over the top to Zaha, who's obviously quick. We just had those options there, and where I've seen other teams come unstuck is because they're playing either like 5-4-1 or 4-5-1. One person up top who can do fuck all, basically. And then City just get the ball back, and then they just press you again. But Palace did really well. They defended brilliantly. Like Fosu Mensah at right back destroyed Sane. Like, the guy was getting nothing. Sane's looked a really good player all season, but Fosu Mensah just shut him out so many times. I look at Man United's defence, and I think Fosu Mensah would easily do well there. He was immense. He was brilliant. Hennessy had a really good game in goal, did everything right. I don't usually say that. Kelly, when he came on for Scott Dan, was brilliant. Like, he's such a squad player, Martin Kelly. Like, to see him go out there and have one of the best games of his life is phenomenal. And you know, Palace still without Sacco, by the way, still injured. So, you know, we were without our £25 million defensive signing. By the way, I will say, it does make me laugh that Liverpool sold Sacco for 25 million, brought Virgil van Dijk for 75. I can't see a lot of difference between the two of them. Maybe that's just me. I do know that Klopp just doesn't like Sacco though, so I understand. It's all down to the drugs test that happened. That, by the way, was a mistake, and the ban was rescinded. But yeah, I'm getting off topic again. Reed Ward in midfield, fantastic. Tompkins, fantastic. Like, lose him, it's going to be heartbreaking. But that's the way football goes. Good luck to him. He needs to go to a bigger club, and I want to see what he's able to do. The bigger heartbreak isn't that Palace are going to lose him to a bigger club. It's that England lost him to the Ivory Coast. That should never have happened. Yeah, we were just phenomenal. I think Palace City looked very disjointed though. When there was like arguments going on between their players, like De Bruyne and Sane, I saw were having a go at each other about balls being played through and stuff like that. They were shaken, definitely. They were shaken, and we got a penalty in the 90-something minute, 92nd. We missed it. In all honesty, it probably was a dive by Zaha, or at least exaggerated contact by Zaha, shall we say. Maybe it's justice. I don't think the City deserved to lose, but my God, it would have been amazing if they had. It really would have been amazing if we'd have been the team to beat them after the first 9 games when we hadn't even scored a goal or got a point. The job that Roy Hodgson has done is phenomenal, because we actually look better than we did in those seasons under Sam Allardyce and other managers, and that's something to be said considering Hodgson had been out of English football for so long. And I was very sceptical of him coming in, and again, I don't see him as a long-term appointment, so I'm intrigued to know what they're going to do. Maybe not next season, but the season after. But he is a really good manager, and it was interesting. I saw, I think it was Richard Osmond, who's a Fulham fan. He's the guy from Pointless, and he kind of tweeted out and said like, "Oh, it's almost as if all, Fulham and who's the other team? I forgot the other team, but another team fans were right all along when they said Roy Hodgson's a really good manager." And it's true, because too many people kind of focus, West Brom as well, wasn't it? Yeah. Too many people focus on that Liverpool era, and I guess the England era to an extent, and go, "Oh, it just didn't work out." But as I said earlier, wrong man, wrong place. Like, when you find somewhere, I think, that you fit in better, you do really well. And let's not forget, Roy Hodgson's managed Inter Milan. He's managed across Europe, in different leagues. And I'm not exactly happy with his appointment. I'm still not, but I would not dispute that he's done a fantastic job. And I don't know if we're going to stay up this season still. Like, people seem to think it's like a given. The Palace are up. We're 1 point above the relegation zone. West Ham have a game in hand on us. A given, trust me. But we're looking good, and you can't argue with that. We need another win. Southampton's probably a good game as only to play. They're right by us, 1 point in between. We can leapfrog them. They're in terrible form, really. We've got to win that game. We're away, but if we want to get out of this mess we're in, we've got to win. And if we can keep our players fit, and maybe we can add another striker in January, then we hopefully, fingers crossed, should be okay. As for City, I think it's just a case of December catching up to them. A lot of games in a short space of time. They looked a little disjointed. You're not going to win every single game, and at the end of the day, they come in 21 games into the season without having lost and won 19 of them. That is a record in the Premier League. They are a phenomenal team. Even if they lose 4 or 5 games this season, they'll still win the league at a canter. They would still be a phenomenal team. The best team ever? Well, I don't think so yet, but they could go on and win the Champions League and the Premier League and the FA Cup and everything, basically. They could still go on and do that. Obviously the De Bruyne injury and Gabriel Jesus injury is bad for them. People are talking about them picking up Sanchez in January. I'm not sure Arsenal would go for that, but if Arsenal are offered 20-30 million, knowing that they're going to lose him in 6 months for nothing, they're probably might take that, I guess. But yeah, interesting. As for kind of what happened like this week coming up, I'll talk about my team. So because of the way it worked with the fixtures, Spurs played twice in this next week's fixtures. It's a weird one, I know, but they played twice because they didn't play in this one's, which is why I dropped all the Spurs players for the previous week. Yeah, like Kane and all that lot. Now, we have played some of the fixtures here. You can see the day. So in the end, Man United beat Everton 2-0. Good win for them. 2 assists for Pogba. Newcastle beat Stoke. Like I already said about that, Mark Hughes in serious trouble. Leicester comfortable 3-0 win against Huddersfield. Huddersfield, I think they're going to be okay, but they're very up and down at the minute, aren't they? Very up and down. They were unbeaten in 4 games, to be fair, before that. Burnley lost to Liverpool 2-1. I said last minute header from Clavan. And Brighton 2-2 with Bournemouth, which I guess is a good result for both of those teams. You know, lifts them up a little bit. We've still got the Southampton Spurs to play, Swansea Spurs, West Ham, West Brom, Man City, Watford, Arsenal, Chelsea. That's a big one. Spurs play again, West Ham. So I obviously chucked in all the Spurs players I could. You can only have 3 maximum because they're going to get double points effectively, hopefully. And they're playing against teams who they should beat. Swansea and West Ham, you know, they should beat those teams. Kane's a doubt. He's a 75% chance. He's been ill. Maybe at the time you watch this, you know whether he's played or not. I took a gamble, put him captain with Elliott's vice. So if he doesn't play, I think Townsend comes in, or maybe Barnes. I don't know. I wanted to use my bench boost this, but I forgot. Sorry. So that was annoying. But actually very disappointed with the way things have gone so far. Now Coutinho didn't play at all, did he? No. So Townsend will come in, so hopefully he does well against Southampton. He missed a fucking sitter against Man City, he really did. That hurt. Listen, at the end of the day with that Man City game, yes, we probably should have beaten them, but I would have taken a 0-0 draw with them any day of the week, as any one of the team would, so you can't be disappointed with that. Anyway, so yeah, Townsend will go in for Coutinho, which is fine. If Kane's out, I think Barnes goes in. Maybe it's Kelly, I'm not too sure. I hope it's Kelly in a way, because I think he will play now, with Dan injured. But we've still got Otamendi, Walker, Watford at home. You'd expect them not to concede, but I don't know. When are they playing? They play tomorrow, Tuesday the 2nd. Unfortunately, Brighton players didn't do too well. I was thinking, should I put in Townsend or Cross? And I was like, I fancied Brighton to beat Bournemouth and keep a clean sheet. That's why I went with that. Didn't work out like that. And obviously because Liverpool conceded, Gomez didn't get much there. Firmino didn't do fuck all again. He's from being like a phenomenal player, getting all these points, he's then just drifted away a bit. So I have to think about whether I want to keep him in or not. Potentially will do though, we'll see. But yeah, got the clean sheet there, so happy with that. Yeah, so it all rides basically on Spurs, I guess, and a little bit of Man City. How well we do. If Spurs wipe the floor with them and these 3 get goals, we are going to get a lot of points. But to be fair, everybody will, because everybody's transferred in the Spurs players because they know about this. Anybody who's concentrating and doing their teams. Son was the most transferred in player, and last week Kane was the most transferred out. So yeah, I haven't got anybody here I don't think who's going to be a secret weapon really. Maybe Townsend is going to do well against Southampton. I'm not, you know, I put Coutinho in before I knew he wasn't going to play. So, like, what are you going to do? Really? I thought with Salah out, I should probably have gone with Mane. It would have been a safer bet, and he did get a goal. So, you know, I know people won't believe me, but I genuinely thought about putting in a lot of players who did well this weekend, like Alexander-Arnold. I nearly put in defence, but I had too many Liverpool players, so I couldn't put him in. It's just the way it goes, eh? But yeah, so we'll continue with what happens with this. Obviously, you know, as it comes up, I'll probably post that video video maybe like Monday or at the weekend, maybe like Saturday, and then we won't have another one because of the FA Cup until Saturday the 13th. Maybe I'll talk about the FA Cup matches, and maybe I'll do a video on the FA Cup or something. But till then, guys, thanks for watching. As always, it's been my pleasure. I hope you guys are doing well on here as well. Let me know how you're doing, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.